Alrighty, hello everyone. Today I'm going to be making a short little tutorial on admin edit for Game Ghost. I am going to do my best to be both concise and descriptive, and if you find that I go through anything too quickly, feel free to just come back and use this as reference material if you forget how to do anything specific. I am planning on this not being a super involved video, but I will compile as much of my knowledge into one space and then cut it together, hopefully with a minimal editing, but we will find out how involved I get. So, alrighty, I am going to get started. So I'm going to start with the very basics because in order to do admin editing, you need to understand how the controls work of builder mode. So to enter builder mode, you need to go on duty and then use /B. I am already in /B, so that will take me out of it, and then I'll go back into it. So free camera, builder, and player names. So to do most of the builder things, you need to be in third person, and just going down the list, F1 is going to be free cam. Free cam is the most important thing that you will use for builder, so understanding how to use it effectively is really, really important. Free cam will always, when you enter back into it, will always return to the position relative to your player where it was. So essentially, like if I'm in front of my player here, and then I exit free cam by pressing the third person button again, and then I move over here, the free cam is going to be in front of me. Does that make sense? So if you move your free cam really far away and then you exit it, and then you move across the map, when you go back into your free cam, you're going to be lost. So a good habit is to just return your free cam to near your player before you exit. Just whatever you're doing. It's just a good habit to have. In terms of camera controls, so you move around forward, backward, side to side with W, A, S, and D. You will always move along a straight vector in terms of where you are looking. So if you want to move up, you can look up and down, but you can also change elevation with Q and E. If you want to change the speed at which you travel, you hold shift and use the scroll wheel. So scrolling down is going to make you move really slow. Scrolling up is going to make you move really fast. So these are super important if you're trying to get across somewhere super quickly, or if I'm editing something super small, I don't want to be at this sort of speed. I want to be at a really fine control. So those are sort of the general camera controls to be aware of, especially for admin editing. I'm going to have to remind myself of what some of these are. So yeah, so F2 is locked camera. So it's very self-explanatory what that does. F3 places a fixed camera, as in you can move around in the frame. F4 is fixed camera that tracks your position as a player. So the camera will stay in one spot, but it'll follow your movement. F5, I believe, is smooth camera. Is that right? Yeah. So F5 is the camera smooth feature. So essentially, like if you're trying to, the only reason you'll ever use this is if you're trying to like film footage, and it'll smooth out the transitions. Yeah, not really useful otherwise. And then F6 is the important one. So F6 is builder mode. So you can use builder mode without being in free cam. You can go into free cam from builder mode. You can, let me show you, you can go into builder mode from free cam. Pressing Shift F6 will enable and unenable. Additionally, something super useful is that if you're in builder mode and you want to move around your camera without disabling builder mode, if you hold right click, you can use your free cam like normal. So if I want to move around without just exiting, I can, and I have the same camera controls as normal, Q and E, speed up, slow down. That is a super useful one to remember. Hold right click. And those are sort of the basics. There's also F7 turns on player names. It's important to remember that it does not automatically get disabled when you turn off Builder or go off duty. You will still be able to use player names, and so you need to make sure that you turn Builder off before you go off duty, so that you don't accidentally have player names off, or on rather. Okay, so let's get into the meat and potatoes, the admin edit stuff. So I am a bit silly and forgot to prep materials, but oh god, fucking sake, bro! I logged back into the server. I forgot to turn God mode back on. Sheesh. Yo, these snakes out here in this desert are brutal. Okay, so let me prep some materials. Alright, so let's start. Let us go over the basics of builder mode. So the information down here is going to be important to remember. Most important thing is that when you enter builder mode, you're going to want to change from global to local. What this is a selection of the axes that you're going to be moving things on. So global is based on the, I'm trying to look at the map. Global is based on the map itself, and if you're trying to use global, it's not going to do anything useful for you unless you're working with some like building things or whatever. But almost always it's going to be better and easier to use local because you can move things in reference to themselves, which is just much more useful. This is just a selector of if you are transforming, which is to say moving in any of the directions on its axes, or rotating, self-explanatory. So you can press the button to change, or you can use the hotkey that is listed here, so Q or W. You'll see that it doesn't update the selector if you use the hotkeys. And then snap transform and snap rotate. These are useful to know about and can be incredibly useful when you're doing complicated builds. But if you're not doing complicated builds, then generally it's safe to just leave them on the default. These will always reset when, I believe it's when you open or you log back into the server. So if I change this to 5 when you do the number again, so if I go back into Builder, it should still be on 5. But when you log back into the server, these will be reset to their default values of 1 and 15. Let me explain how transform and rotate work before explaining how their snaps work. So this is pretty self-explanatory. There's 3 axes. I don't know which is X and which is Y because, like, relatively, I'm not sure. I guess, no, you wouldn't be able to tell. So X, Y, and then the Z axis here. So if you click and hold on one of the arrows, it will move that item independently along that axis. It will only move on that axis. If you click and hold on the square of the same color somebody is shooting, I'm going to lose my damn mind. So transform. When you click and hold on the color appropriate box, it will fix that axis, and move along the other 2 axes. So if I click on the green one, it can only move on, we'll just call the red one the X, and the Z. Right, so it can move up and it can move sideways in any directions. And obviously the same would be true for the red. It will only move on the Y and the Z. Right? So useful if you're trying to move things across multiple directions and you don't want to, it's easier to use that. So snap, transform, snap, rotate. You will have in your settings, do not want to suicide, down at the bottom here, under editor, snap measurement. It's going to be bound to whatever hotkey. Mine is control. I believe it defaults to control. Snap transform and snap rotation, both incredibly useful tools. snap transform a bit more difficult to use because this number is an arbitrary unit of distance that is really hard to define in the game. Like, if I am using snap transform by holding that key that we had bound earlier, in this case control, I'm going to click this red arrow, click and hold, while holding control as well. And then I am just going to move it, and it's going to only move in increments of whatever my snap transform value is. So in this case, it's only going to move 1, right? You know, we assume it's probably meters, right? But it's also really hard to define because, say for example, I want to move this exactly the distance that it is long. If it's like 4.5 long, I don't know, it's 5 long, but there's no way to know how long this is unless you were to go into the files and check the length of the item, which is not terribly hard to do, but it is hard to do when there are 1,000+ different barricades in the game, hundreds of different barricades in the game. Like how long is a door? How long is this item? How long is the pillar? Like, and there's 3 different dimensions, so it can get a bit complicated. Snap transform is really useful though if you're able to just sort of generally figure out what numbers are useful to you. If I'm doing precise building, will leave my snap transform on 0.1. It's just like a good value to have because it goes into a lot of bigger numbers. So like if I'm working with a weird object that is 4.6 long, then 0.1 is going to go evenly into 4.6, which is really important when you're trying to line things up exactly on their edges. Snap transform, though, just a super useful tool to know about and to use. Snap rotation, similarly useful. This is much easier to understand because this is in degrees. There's 360 degrees in a circle. If your snap rotation value divides evenly into 360, then you're always going to be able to reset back to your starting point. Additionally, if it divides into 90, then you're going to be able to turn it 90 degrees easily or 180 degrees easily. 15 is a great value. I almost always keep mine on 15 unless I'm doing like big circular things and I need like a specific angle measurement to turn things. Almost always going to keep it on 15 because you can turn it 90, you can turn it 180, and you can turn it 360. Really, I've lost where I was, but really easily. You can also, if you just want to move something 90 degrees, you can obviously just change this to 90, and it's only going to turn. I mean, that's that's a bad example, but because you can't actually see it turning, but this is only going to turn 90 degrees. So, but generally, I just keep it on 15. 15 goes into 90 evenly, right? It goes in 6 times. So 15. Keep it on 15. Okay, let me go back to my list. Now, probably the most useful tool that I will show you how to use is location copy, location paste. So, important to remember that this tool that we're about to use does care about local and global. So we almost always want to be in local for this tool, as with other things, so it's not going to be difficult. What this tool does is exactly like what it sounds. It will save the position of the currently selected object and allow you to then paste that location to other objects or even to itself. So if I have this object here and I copy the location and then it's now somewhere else because I moved it or something, I can click on this object and paste the location and it will go back to exactly where it was. This can be, you can have multiple objects selected, and we can get into the complexity of how that specifically works later. But so there's 2 different ways to select objects. The first is just clicking on them. If you want to unselect the object, you just click out in the empty space. If you want to select more than one object at a time, the best way to do it is to shift-click other objects. It's going to select all of them. If you accidentally select something that you don't want to be in the group, shift click it, it'll unselect. So before I talked about if you want to select multiple objects, I'm just going to try to find, yeah, if you want to select multiple objects, shift clicking them, right? There is another way, and I'm only going to talk about this because I don't want people to discover this. It's very easy to find and use it improperly. The other way is clicking, dragging, selecting, okay? If you have not been editing for a while, do not ever use this selection method unless somebody who has been editing for a while tells you to do so. You can accidentally, very easily mess up a lot of things, okay? You're editing here, yeah, this makes sense, right? I'm gonna select all these, right? You notice that it is selecting these all because I am also selecting everything in that box behind it, okay? Everything behind it. Do not use this. The only way that it is safe is if you are on a single plane. That is to say, there's only things vertically in this area, and you use it from exactly above, okay? Even still, would not recommend using it, okay? Unless you absolutely have to, this is the only time you should be using it. You're looking at it exactly from above, because look, even still, I selected this. Obviously, I can unselect it, but not a good place. It's just as simple to just click on these and select them. Do not select things with the box. You will move half of the city, and then you won't know how to fix it, and you'll have to spend 7 hours getting help from people to fix it. Don't do it. When you select multiple objects, the transformations and rotations that happen will be relative to the first object that you select. So, for example, if I have this pillar and I move it to be, yeah, if I move it here, right, and then I select these two pillars. If I rotate them now, you might think that it would rotate around the center point of these two pillars, right? Like in this space in the air here. It is going to rotate around this pillar here. All of the rotations and transformations will be relative to the first object that you select. So it's going to rotate this pillar up here or down here. It's going to go all the way around. You should be able to see that. If I select this pillar first, it's going to do the same thing in the other direction, right? I didn't use my snap, so I'm kind of fucked up. That should be kind of crooked now. Well, whatever. It's not a big deal. So that's something that is super useful for complicated buildings. You will find if you're trying to make things symmetrical. It's an important tool to remember. So Control B to copy a location. Control N to paste it. You can only ever have one location saved. You can paste any number of times, but you can only ever have one location saved. Okay, now I'm going to talk about window placement. So let me go somewhere. Hopefully I won't forget that this is here. Let's go to Kingston. So next we're going to talk about windows. Something you're going to be doing a lot is windows. Now, windows, pretty easy, can also be a pain in the butt if you don't have confidence in doing them. Something to remember is our copy and paste. All you have to do, copy the location in the first window, paste the location to the second window. I'm on snap transform 0.1 because the length of the windows, I think it's like 3.2 or something weird. See? It's not even that. And I know it's not 3 because so it's like 2.8 or something, like this is what you got to do with snap transform. Yeah, so it's the length of a window horizontally of a bulletproof window is 2 point. These aren't even. I don't think these are normal windows. No clue. The length of these windows, 2.8. That's why I would just recommend being on 0.1. Because that's why I would just recommend being on 0.1, because you'll find that you can figure that out and not even have to know the number just the same way. So I'm holding my snap key and I'm moving this over just until it lines up. And that's exactly 2.8, but it's just in increments of 0.1. So, I mean, obviously these windows were already fine, but you know, oh, okay, fudge. I just spent all that time lining up these windows. Well, I'm just gonna very simply select them all and just move it over, right? Super easy. Super easy stuff. Now, you may find that you come to a window scenario that is slightly off. Now, this is not super realistic because this is exactly off, right? But where you have something that's just off, like I don't have a good reference. Like, how am I going to turn these back now? I want to make sure without just doing it manually, and that's where things like doors can actually be super useful, because with door frames are a snapped to the map object, which means that when you place a door frame, or a door rather, it always goes in the same exact position every time, unless the door has then been admin edited after the fact, which will almost never happen, that it gets turned. And if you place the door yourself, you know that it's locked in place. I can use that door as a reference point. So I'm going to copy the location, and for doors, if they're open, it's just going to be the actual closed position of the door. So click on the door, copy the location, paste it, and you'll notice that it's sideways, and that's just sort of the nature of the door, but along the other two axes, it is exactly correct. So now I can just use that as a reference point, and I know that this window is exactly lined up with this building, right? And so that's super useful. So now I can just do.
All right, I know there's an admin here.
So
I will find you.
I can just
I will find you.
My other.
Do not evade the SWAT.
Okay. I understand why I was confused about these windows, because they were sideways. So yeah, they were sideways. That's why the length was bizarre.
I am the SWAT.
Okay. Apparently this guy he is the SWAT.
I am the SWAT.
So that's
You can't stop me. I'm the gingerbread man.
He's a gingerbread man. Yeah. So like stuff like this, you can tell that this was placed not using snap transform. So if you want to fix it, it's very, very simple. Very, very simple. Okay. Windows.
Show yourself. I will. There.
So let's talk about the last technical skill. So this is going to be e-moving. So e-moving is really useful. Say for example, I have this metal rifle rack and I want to move it down here, right? If I want to move it down there, normally like I'm gonna have to like move my camera a bunch and just sort of like, okay, sort of guess where I want it to go, right? And then move it into a good position. E-moving is the game will look at your cursor and find the intersection between your cursor and an object, and it will do its best to put whatever you have selected at that location. So in this case, it's intersecting. My cursor is intersecting with the top of this building. You can put it on the wall over there, on the building over there, whatever, right? E-moving is most useful when you want to roughly move an object, and then you'll do more finite movements after. It'll always keep, well actually I'm not sure. I believe it'll always keep its rotation. Yeah, so it'll always keep its rotation. Alright, so that, as far as I can tell, is all of the... I need to go back into Vanish so people aren't coming after me. All of the technical skills that you need to know about in terms of doing basic admin editing. you will find yourself using location copy and paste the most, and snap transform as well, just to do any sort of building. You will also find that as you do more admin editing, you'll get more comfortable with whatever works for you. So, I know a number of people who are really skilled at admin editing who admin edit different than I do. I just sort of have... Am I unvanished? No. No, I... yeah.
Yes, burn.
What the hell? Oh, it's so bizarre. It's like 9 people on right now. It's late at night and I'm just happening to run into people. It's bizarre. Okay, yeah, people just edit differently. So, just something important to remember. What I'm gonna do right now is just sort of go around Kingston and find some examples of things that are good edit good edit examples. You'll see this kid still asking for me in chat, even though I've told him multiple times that I am unavailable because I am making this video, and I went to him once to help him, and now he still wants my help. Okay, yeah, so this is a great example. We've got these windows, I believe it's 3.2. Oh, it's not, it's 3.4? It's 3.5? It's 3.5, I'm embarrassed. Okay, so it's 3.5.
Get up! Pack your things.
Is somebody talking? Oh my god. Okay, I think there's... Oh no, I just gave... That's all. Okay. So here, we're just going to show you some good examples of using admin edit effectively. So windows are going to be the easiest things to work on, right? Once you have the numbers down, it doesn't need to be 3.5 again, we can use 0.1. Wow, we're really getting bodied right now by player sounds. What I can do is just turn my master volume way down. Gotta love the sounds when you're trying to record. So in this case, like, I want to line up this room perfectly. Like, this is just some random person's room, but I want to sort of line their objects up perfectly. Now, if I think my windows are good, then I can just use my windows as a reference point. So change this to 0.1 again. I'm going to use my windows as a reference point. I'm going to bring this down, bring this down, bring this over, make sure that this is actually on the floor, and then I'm going to use this, which I have meticulously placed, quote unquote, and use that as a reference for all my other stuff. So I'm just going to, move this large locker, and using snap transform to make it easier. I know that this is square, so I'm going to hopefully not mess up their slash home by putting in a weird spot. And then I'm going to use these back windows to fix the locker situation they have going on here. Let's just make sure this is on the ground. Yeah. So this is like super tedious, really unnecessary work, but it's just sort of like, it's good to do if you're getting used to admin edit, just in terms of like practicing how things fit together, and you'll, I think maybe I put that not far enough. You'll get used to how things sort of fit together, and I feel like my frames are really low right now. It's kind of weird. And it's just good practice for moving things around, getting used to copy and paste, getting used to snap transform and snap rotate. And I would always encourage people to, if they don't feel comfortable with admin edit, doing stuff like this, so then you can get more comfortable because this is really easy at the end of the day, and if you try to do hard, complex things and you don't do them well, it's just going to make you unconfident and not feel good about continuing to learn. Doesn't matter if you're bad at admin edit to start, you're only going to get better by doing it more, and being worried about messing something up is a really great way to discourage yourself from getting better. So it's important to remember that everyone starts somewhere. I'm disconnecting right now, apparently. Everyone has to start somewhere, and you're only going to get to... Okay, this is somehow not straight, which is kind of fucking me up because I must have rotated it on accident. Oh, no, I just didn't rotate it to the right angle. Typical. Yeah, so just remember that you got to start somewhere. Don't take on too ambitious of projects if you don't feel comfortable, because if you do make a big mistake, like messing up somebody's house or moving someone's shop or whatever. So here I'm just gonna aside as an aside. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So this is just a 1. So this is just because I'm moving so many of these, it's way easier to just calculate the exact snap transform than to 0.1 it every single time, right? It's just a pain in the ass. So. Also, I may just be kind of messing up what they had going on, but would you like to know how much I care? Just not enough. Yeah, so if you do mess something up, it's certainly okay, but you don't want to take on a project that is too ambitious and then mess up something really badly to the point where, you know, it has to get fixed by someone else. It's okay to make mistakes. You will make mistakes. You will mess things up. You're only going to learn from them. Don't be discouraged by it. Also try and mitigate your damage by not trying to do things that are super hard and working on projects that will build up your confidence. And yeah, I'm just doing this so that I can move the whole thing kind of out of the window. And yeah, there are plenty of great resources on the server. There are plenty of people who, if you have a question about a project that you're working on and you're not quite sure what a good way to approach it is, plenty of people who are great resources to ask. Certainly don't be afraid of trying fun things. Admin edit can be incredibly enjoyable and satisfying to sort of come up with, build ideas and execute them. And yeah, I think that's sort of what all I had planned for this, and I'm gonna hopefully stop the recording. Hopefully I actually saved it. So when you hold that key and you are in snap transform, for example, or in transform, when I hold control, okay, I feel like I'm getting ahead of myself. So this is very fuck. Okay, we're doing a great job. So who is in this city? Oh my god, dude. Okay, I tried to pick a city that was away from people. Alright, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna grab all my stuff. Okay, let this be an example. If this stays in the video, do not do what I'm doing. Do not click and drag to select things unless you have been editing for a long time, because you will inevitably break things. And I'm not saying that that is a hard thing to do, but you will find yourself doing it, and it will mess things up. So just don't do it. Okay, they're not going to be shooting in the city, right? There's no zombies in the city. Alright, I'm just going to not do it. Oh my god, they are fucking shooting in the city. I'm losing my goddamn mind, bro. Why are people shooting? I'm trying to make a fuck of it. Anyways. Okay. We're just gonna keep going, is what we're gonna do. So we're talking about Snap. There's some people shooting. I had to find a solution. So, rotation. do you have to be shooting right now? It's like a car driving by. I mean, this is a solvable problem, but so snap transform, snap rotation, both incredibly useful tools. Snap transform a bit more difficult to use because the actual. Can we stop? Can we stop shooting? I'm about to freaking teleport these people. Like, you don't have to be shooting. There's nothing here, dude. Just stop shooting. So snap rotation, snap transform, both incredibly useful tools. I swear to God, dude, I keep starting to record this part while they're not shooting, and then as soon as I do, they start shooting. Please just get in your freaking helicopter and go. Just go. Just go, man. Just run. Okay. Where was I? Okay. So snap transform, snap rotation, both incredibly useful tools for precise building. Let me just